Next is physiological aids, and again that is both legal and illegal versions. One example of a legal aid is a sport massage. Massages are the most effective therapy for releasing muscle tension and restoring balance in the musculoskeletal system. Received regularly, this might help athletes prevent injuries which might otherwise be caused due to overuse. Many athletes use this technique as it helps to recover the muscles and prevent injury, meaning that they can train for longer. It would aid a heptathlete as it would prevent injury to the muscles that are regularly used, as well as improving movement slightly within the selected muscles and joints, and might also increase flexibility slightly, so that would aid in the hurdle event especially. On the other hand, there are illegal physiological aids, such as blood doping. This involves removing blood and storing it, and then putting extra blood, either theirs or someone else's, back into the body, which increases the level of hemoglobin, thereby providing an increased oxygen carrying capacity to be delivered to the working muscles. So it's typically used by endurance athletes. Lance Armstrong is a well-known athlete who was caught for having um, blood doping for many years, for many different competitions. Although blood transfusions can be hard to detect, the WADA and other organisations are coming up with new testing methods to catch all of those who complete doping. On August 23rd, 2012, Lance Armstrong was stripped of his 7 Tour de France titles and banned for life by cycling's government body, following a report from the US anti-doping agency that accused him of completing blood doping program during his cycling career. He later on admitted to this, to be using banned substances, including blood doping, with transfusions and EPO in an interview. Blood doping has many dangerous side effects, such as increased levels of hemoglobin, which literally thickens the blood, which can lead to complications with the circulatory system, putting the athlete at a risk of cardiovascular problems. So now looking at mechanical aids. Both these examples are legal. So the first example of a mechanical ergogenic aid is a drug-resistant swimsuit, which is a specially designed compression suit. They are a type of swimsuit made from technically advanced lycra-based fabrics designed to hug the body tightly and provide increased speed and decrease drag resistance in the water. Competitive swimmers might opt to use a drag-resistant swimsuit to increase buoyancy and reduce the drag against the water, improving speed when swimming. This type of ergogenic aid is regulated by the International Swimming Federation for international competitions, and therefore means that the products which intend to do the same thing, some might not be allowed in certain competitions, and therefore athletes must check against the national governing body, Sport UK and WADA, to make sure that the ones they choose to use are legal. Although legal, there are some negatives to this ergogenic aid. For example, it can restrict movement to the arms depending on the cut of the swimsuit, and therefore impact the technique and form, and therefore not aiding the performer, but maybe restricting them. In addition to this, they can be very expensive, and therefore if it is going to restrict them, then it might not be worth it. The other example of a mechanical aid is the parachute, which is a training method used to improve speed and is an ideal training method for the 200 meters in the heptathlon. As you run and speed up, the parachute expands, creating a drag, causing you to work harder, building strength. The resistance that the speed parachute provides forces your glutes, quadriceps, hamstring, and calves to contract with greater explosiveness. However, wearing the parachute could affect your technique, making training counterproductive, and then when you choose to run without it or in a competition, your technique isn't as good and slows you down. In addition to this, a lot of space is required. So psychological. There are many different types of psychological aids, for example, relaxation, music, yoga, imagery, cheering. which are all used by various athletes before, during, and after competitions to prepare them mentally. These are all techniques which athletes can use in a competitive situation to maintain control and optimize their performance. Once developed and made personal to the individual athlete, these techniques allowed athletes to relax and focus their attention in a positive manner on the task for preparing and participating in the competition. Looking at music in particular, music specific to the athlete prepares them for the event ahead. So soothing music is typically aimed to calm pre-game jitters, whilst energetic music can pump the body up, pump you up before the event, and therefore the music is very dependent on the athlete and their event. Music can be used during training as well as just before competitions, allowing the athlete to get in the correct mind and in their zone, as well as hinting and can be used to try and remind the athletes of certain moves, techniques, experiences that have gone well, as well as a bit of muscle memory to aid their performance, as well as imagery of good previous competitions. It is very accessible to all, both grassroots levels and higher elite athletes, allowing people to focus and prepare themselves. However, some athletes listening to the wrong type of music can cause distress or distraction before games. One example of an athlete that uses music is Michael Phelps, a 28 medal winning Olympic swimmer who uses music before each race to prepare himself, helping to reduce anxiety and increase motivation. And he has personally said that this has helped to improve his performance. The final aid I'm going to be looking at is nutritional ergogenic aids. One example of a nutritional ergogenic aid is EPO, which stimulates the production of red blood cells. This increases the amount of oxygen that can be transported through the blood, and thereby increasing and improving performance in aerobic activities, so typically used by endurance athletes. It means that athletes can work at a high level for longer without using their anaerobic system and delaying lactic acid. However, the side effects are similar to blood doping in the fact that it thickens your blood, which increases the risk of blood clots and could potentially damage your liver, your kidneys, and blood vessels. In addition, it can also cause things such as fits, headaches, and vomiting. Unless prescribed, this is illegal within sport, and athletes that are caught can face consequences like Lance Armstrong, who did get who again is a key example of someone being caught and stripped of their medals due to EPO supplementation. Due to the increase of red blood cells being beneficial, this can be done naturally through exposure to altitude. Although this does affect the body, and the amount isn't as much as using EPO, it is safer and is legal. Another athlete who faced consequences due to the use of EPO is Elena Antici, a Romanian middle distance runner who was dropped from the Romanian Olympic team after testing positive for EPO. So although didn't get stripped of any titles or anything, was dropped from the team and therefore couldn't compete. Yeah. Other legal nutritional aids looks at sports drinks, protein powders, and carbohydrates. The use of sport drinks and carbohydrates have been shown to improve recovery and replace sugars and electrolytes that are lost during exercise. Most studies conclude that creatine and some vitamins are safe to use, however, should be checked against water for safety against illegal actions within sports.